Hi, I'm Ronan Kaufman for Issue Oriented, the podcast, and I'm here in downtown Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where at the Metropolis Art Gallery, the Sons of Nero are having their first ever public exhibition. Now, Sons of Nero may not be a name that you're familiar with, but you're probably familiar with their work because it's helped represent bands like Unearth, Every Time I Die, In Flames, and many more. I was able to catch up with Portland and Phill Mamula of the collective, and we talked a little bit about their first experience with the gallery show, what goes into art versus design, and much more. So let's check out the exhibition and see what these guys had to say. How does it feel to be at your first public exhibition of things that you've done? I mean, because the work you do, people consume it all the time, but they do it privately.
Yeah,
it's totally different.
It's totally different. I mean, it's weird because this is, you know, it's mind blowing that we put up just like 28 pieces, you know. But I've seen some of these printed, you know, like 20,000 times, you know, like smaller, you know, as a CD art or whatever. So I've seen them like scattered all over the place, but seeing them like in their full form, big, is just mind blowing. So it's weird. But
it's cool to finally like to look back on the projects that we did, you know, maybe 6-8 months ago, and realize like, wow, we actually did a really bang up job, and
right.
and seeing it bigger than, you know, 4.75 or 4.75, you know, seeing it now, you know, an 8x10 or even larger, you know, it's way cool.
When we were here last night for the opening, I think most of the people that came through enjoyed it. Like most people, you go to a gallery, you don't know what you're going to see, so you go in and say, I like that or I don't like that. But because the content of some of the material that you guys have here is jarring depending on what you're used to in your media. Like I know there's a piece over there that we're gonna show right now of a girl holding what looks like a bunch of bloody guts, and a kid went by with his mom and it's like, Mommy, look at that. And she's like, oh, it's disgusting. Who would that's horrible. Like the undertone was like, that's not art, you know. What kind of internal conversation do you have about that for yourself?
I mean, like everybody, you know, they all just kind of went through in, you know, a nice line, and everybody, like Portland was saying, all night, everybody under, you know, the age of 35 stopped and looked, and at the Bring Me the Horizon piece that you just saw, and everybody stopped and was like, ooh, that's gross, or oh, how cool. But it was cool to see the adults come through, and the older people that, you know, are going to all these traditional galleries, you know, on the first Friday, and just kind of like, all right, see ya. And then there was the guy that came in to talk about the collage.
there's a few pieces that are done like, you know, without any computer, you know, or like Photoshop or whatever, and like the collage and like the silk screens and stuff. And the guy was like, I wish there was more of that stuff. And I wish there was more of the integrity of the hands-on. But what he didn't understand is that every piece in here, whether it was done, touched by a computer or whatever, like every element is done but hands-on. Whether it's textures from spray paint or, you know, us just, you know, drawing or doing whatever and then coloring them in, you know, on a computer or whatever. Everything's done by hand. So
I think that's one of the interesting aspects of this particular show and of your group is that it's not really necessarily about one person, and that so many of the pieces that seem to be your strongest pieces are collaborative.
Yeah.
Because you're drawing on different skill sets from different people.
Yeah. I mean, our first project, Aaron, Portland, and I together, it was lower definition, and I think it's one of my favorites. And Portland just hit me up and he's like, hey, I need you to take a picture of a guy holding like a retro video camera. And I'm like, what's the direction? What's, you know, the concept? And he's like, it's really out there. Just take really awesome shots of this guy. And, you know, I took the photos and put them together, and with his kind of collaging and textures and Aaron's illustration with the flowy lines. And you can see, you know, that some of our strongest are all three of us put together. So
I know that a lot of people who are like traditionally trained fine artists really gripe about the distinction between art and design. That if you talk to an artist, they'll say, I'm not a designer. And some designers will say, I'm not an artist. You know, but that there's a distinction. How do you negotiate the difference between, or the similarities between, or the common ground between those two things?
Well, I think that, you know, there really isn't a distinction in my book because, I mean, there's toys behind you, you know, and a lot of people, like, don't view, like most fine artists probably wouldn't view a toy as being a piece of art, you know? Like I've been into houses where people display cereal boxes because they love the art that's on them, you know? They love the old cartoon characters and it's nostalgic. So to me, the art is just like, what do you want to look at? Like, what do you want to see, you know, like either hung on a wall or, you know, spray painted on, you know, on the side of a building, or what, you know, it's what you like stop and you're like, I like that, you know, that's cool. So even if it's produced, you know, 50,000 times or on the, you know, on the side of a bus, if it's a good piece of art, like it can transcend, and even though it's traveling on a bus or a billboard or whatever, just because a lot of people are seeing it doesn't mean that it's not art. It's still done, you know.
Right. There's 2 of you here.
Yeah.
How many people are the complete Sons of Nero?
There's 4 of us, and could be more at some point. You know, it's like
a collective.
Yeah, you know, like I can't, you know, I always want to keep this open, you know, because, you know, we just started working like together, you know, 7 months ago, and we did like half of these together, you know. So it's nice to work with people that you trust and you admire and you can gain something from, you know. Like Aaron and I work really well. He's not here, but him and I work really well together, even though, you know, he's in Georgia and I'm in Jersey, and, you know, Phil's in California, where like it works somehow. Like if I'm stuck, I could just send it to them and they can like do their little, even if they don't even touch it, if they just look at it and say, maybe you should add this, or maybe you should do that, or whatever, and it works, you know. Somehow the 4 of us just work really well together, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And then so there's Portland and Aaron, the illustrator, and myself does, you know, more of all the photo stuff. And we also have Star, who's been, you know, an OG member for a while, and she does kind of the behind the scenes web stuff. There's a lot of designers out there, and I think this should be said and known, that are really caught up into what they're doing, and they don't want to share any art with anybody. They don't want to leak any information. They don't want to, you know, show what they're working on because they think their ideas might be stolen or anything like that. And that's not how it should be. I mean, this is the best work that you see that you admire is probably a collaboration of some sorts. Whether it's somebody that continually goes to the same person or not, you know, it's a collab, and those are the strongest pieces. So I think it's awesome that we all work together, and like Portland said, like if I get stumped, I can call Portland, hey, I have this cool idea, but I don't know what else we should do with it, or, you know, whatever. And also it's cool because we've created, the artworks don't say artwork by Phil or artwork by Portland. It says artwork by Sons of Nero.
So sonsofnero.com.
Yes.
MySpace.com/Sons of Nero. Anything else?
His screen name is